I'm going to talk a little bit about me today. I'm going to talk about my transition from wanting to be a therapist for years and then pivoting into more of a business role and a business lens around the mental health industry. So I'm pretty open that I've been a psychology nerd since I was 15 years old. I had this epiphany that I wanted to be a therapist, I wanted to be a psychiatrist, some form of healer or provider in the space. And I went through college thinking that. And they tell you in college, you really can do two routes with psychology as a major. You can go the clinical practice route, get a 2 year master's in social work and become a licensed clinical social worker, or similarly, do a 2 year counseling program, become a licensed professional counselor, or in other parts of the country, an MFT, LMFT. So you could be a therapist, a practitioner with kind of a 2, 3 year grad experience, or you could be academic and go into more research, and that would be maybe a master's in research or design, maybe a master's in a specific type of psychology, and then potentially a PhD in a specific kind of psychology. And so I was weighing both of those options pretty heavily in undergrad. I loved the idea of having a PhD. That was such a dream to me. I would manifest and write down Dr. Ryan Scanlon on so many things. I wanted to do all of it. I wanted to be a practitioner and see clients, and I wanted to do research and have my PhD and teach. And I was so consumed by that whole world and so committed to it. And if I knew anything about myself, I knew that I wanted to do that. But life changes you and life takes you new directions. So I got out of college as a psych major. I applied and I got into a couple 2 year masters of counseling programs in New York. I chose one of them and I was sitting in class. In the first couple weeks of class, I really wasn't vibing with the energy of the entire class. I was bored by the classes. I didn't really see myself there. I had kind of bigger visions for myself, arrogantly or not. I just didn't see myself there at all. I found myself really, really bored. And in my head, I thought my end goal was a PhD. So why would I pay money to sit in this classroom where I'm not really feeling like I fit here or that I'm learning much or challenging myself? Instead, I got a job and I got a job offer. And I dropped out of the master's program and took a full-time job with a nonprofit in the city that did housing and casework and stuff like that. So I opted to get a paid job in the field, thinking this could lead me to a PhD down the road. If I can work in the field, have my toe in research as well, which was something I was also doing on the side, I thought that combination would lead me into the PhD world of clinical psychology maybe a few years from then. And I was right. And that is the formula for success for a lot of people to get back into the PhD program. But what happened when I worked in the field, when I worked in that nonprofit, it was so illuminating. It was so stimulating and motivating, but also showed me a lot about what's wrong with mental health and the industry as a whole. When you're in school, you read about these theories, and there's an idealistic version of psychology and mental health that I think anyone in school with any subject is a victim of, right? You don't see what it's really like on the outside until you leave the classroom. And so I was just beaten over and over with the realities and limitations of what this industry is, especially in the housing case management world in a major city like New York. It's insane. It's really, you are pushing a boulder up a hill. You love your clients. You would do anything for your clients. You have to do a lot of things for your clients, but there are so many other factors that contribute to their failure or inability to progress through the process that you thought worked, but you find out there's so much working against everybody. And it was really distressing and really discouraging. And I would see therapists and I see practitioners and psychiatrists that I would work with as a case manager. And it just was so deflating to see how limited their scope and their role was in this client's life. And that for this client's life to really change, they needed a full-fledged revamp of their social circle, of their medical care, their mental health care, of their vocational job. All these things come into play when you're talking about an individual's full health. And it just got me thinking, do I really want to pursue the clinical psych world anymore? And I remember thinking about, well, I want to go back to grad school. It's a bachelor's in psych doesn't get you super far. I knew I had to go back to school, but I got a little more creative about what kind of programs would benefit me and what kind of can serve me and what I want to be my greater purpose and my greater contribution to the mental health industry. And so I looked into MBA programs, business grad programs, and I had never saw myself as a business person ever. Especially in undergrad, I saw the business school as this energy I did not want to associate with at all. I was a purist, this purist therapist, theory, science man who had nothing to do with the evils of business. But as I went through and did my research, you start to understand an MBA, the return on the investment as a, just as a degree is really attractive. And of course, with a business acumen in this country, especially, you can do whatever you want. You can start your own company. You can start your own nonprofit. You can do so much with a business degree and a business skill set. And I started to slowly realize that. And I'd always want to move to California. So living in New York at the time, I applied to a few business schools out in California. I got into one that allowed me to go at night. So it was an evening MBA program. And I moved out there and did my evening MBA at night while working full time at a couple different mental health settings. And there was such a strange little duality of my day job, which was, again, very high touch sensitivity, working with clients in groups, de-escalating, very clinical. And then at night, classes about accounting and finance, management, marketing. I kind of felt out of place. I felt like, during the day job, I did fit in, but at night, I didn't know what I was doing. No one else in the business program had my background or was doing what I was doing. It felt kind of lonely, but I kept myself thinking, I have a vision. I want to blend these worlds together. There is a world where someone who is conscious and has the right purpose with what mental health care can be, can blend their business acumen and what they learn in this program or in life, and it could really create something special. So that was the pivot for me, was really working in the field, understanding the limitations, and then exploring the options of what other education or opportunities can help you get to your end goal, which for me was changing the mental health industry, revolutionizing it, changing the narrative around it. And I'm trying to do that with Flourish today, with how I approach everything with my clients and the industry as a whole. But I hope this can help anyone in a similar spot where they love working with people, they love the idea of mental health, it's something they're passionate about. There's a lot more options than you might think, especially when you are given those two tracks of clinical and research. Mental health is growing so fast. There are so many options available to you. So think about it. Talk to your network, talk to your people, and really sit with, well, what can serve my greater purpose of what I want to contribute to this industry?